Oh wow, look at all that lava.
Yes, we are in a very strange hole. Has our stream changed over yet?
Hey, we were just talking about you.
Oh, there's me.
That's where you showed up.
Did you sell into a Pokemon Go kit or something? I did. Or you could not say anything.
What are you playing back?
That's the
That's the
pre-stream.
pre-stream.
Oh. Our
We
entire
are-
conversation leading up to, alright guys, we're ready.
Yeah. Let's cancel the pre-stream. We're streaming live now. Is it live?
Hold
Boink,
on.
boink, boink, boink. All this that I'm saying, by the way, will not get chopped out in the final edit. So, make it count!
I can't tell. Are you guys still playing Minecraft?
We are.
Of course.
You're back. Oh!
Alright.
Search our, whatchamacallit, our title.
What is the title again?
Burned by Destiny, question mark, so were we.
Burned by Destiny Garcia and David Garcia.
Yeah, that's not,
Destiny. Can ghosts stop Thornburn?
Did we already have someone take the name of our podcast?
no.
Here we go.
You found us?
Mhm.
We already have someone take the name of our podcast.
There we go.
Oh, man, that's relatively soon. Alright.
Mhm. I'm gonna have to mute us though. So
Yeah.
hold on.
I'm just making sure we can all hear each other and shit on the stream.
Yeah, I don't like the way I sound.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get used to how I sound too. And look at that, we have
Like
a
a part of
viewer
me
who's
is like,
probably
man, I sound like
fast.
that to others? I'm so sorry.
Mwah. Squidward. Mwah.
Oh god, it's not that bad.
Alright, are we good to go, finally? Is everything green?
Mhm.
Okay. Welcome to our podcast again. Hopefully this one doesn't crash 10 seconds in. This is, the Triumvirate Podcast, episode 2. We will be talking about Destiny and why we no longer play it. That's an, pretty apt topic for podcast number 2. Joining me today are 2 other people in the Triumvirate. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Vast Empires.
And I am Arcadius.
And I am Skorche. We make up the Triumvirate. Let us begin. Destiny. Why we don't play it. It's in the
Oh.
title. Where shall we begin?
Whew. I feel like we
Begin.
should start nice and at
Nice.
least summarize how the game was when we got it. We first
Okay,
cranked
wait.
it up.
Before
got
that,
the download.
before that, it was a
Okay.
simpler time. Halo 4, Halo 4 had just come out, and we had received word that Bungie was no longer working on a Halo title. We wondered what would come of that beloved studio. We loved Halo. What master
good.
concoction will they be creating this time? And then we heard rumbles of a game called Destiny. And,
And a few
the-
leaked screenshots.
yes. And the hype train revved up, and we quickly got on it, and we were on our way.
That is the humble beginning.
This is the humble beginning, or not so humble beginning as far as Bungie goes, but that is also
We'll get
going
into
to
that.
get hit. So, what were y'all's thoughts before Destiny came out? What did y'all think of it?
Well, I'll go
I
first, if only
Go for it.
because I had no opinion on the game. At that point, I had never truthfully or fully played a first person shooter game outside of a couple of Halo 2 and Halo 1 matches. I was not a FPS person. So, I heard Bungie was making a game called Destiny and I was like, "Okay, whatever." So there, that was me. You guys go.
Okay. Arcadius.
Well, having been quite the avid FPS shooter and played all the Halos and thoroughly enjoyed everything that Bungie put out in that regard, based on the leaked photos, it looked much more organic. It wasn't quite Halo-y. A little, you could see little bits of that, but like they said themselves, they built on their strengths, so there were going to be some resemblances. But outside of the mystery of what you saw in the photos, I was actually quite hungry to see what the plot would be. Because it wasn't going to be Halo, so it was going to be something brand new. And that had me pretty excited.
Yeah.
That was my first impression.
I started looking at all the concept and all of the leaked things as soon as I could get my hands on them. I was a very, very, very early adopter. I think I picked it up right after Reach. Tried to listen to everything that came out of that studio. And I quickly fed Arcadius everything I could find. And he put up with that for years until the game actually came out.
Such good friendship.
With a little bit of my own
wonderful
stuff.
friendship.
He'd give me something that's like, that's not enough for now. I need more.
Yeah. But it's all I have! Stuff like that.
Yeah, I know.
And it was supposed to be a launch title. It was pushed off of the launch of PS4, which was going to be
Sadly.
their major machine for Destiny. Then
With all fairness, happened to a lot of games.
True. Very true.
Yeah, they're not the only ones to suffer that.
And I was still firmly ensconced in the hype train. I thought, yes, let them perfect their craft. Let them work on their baby. So I thought, this is acceptable. And then the game came out. And we started playing it.
Ravenously.
And
Wait a minute, weren't you guys in the beta?
we were in the beta.
Oh, yes.
Actually, we were in the...
Alpha?
Actually, we were in the alpha.
Alpha 2 or 3 E3s ago. We were. And at that point, they had released, unbeknownst to us, they released every single bit of content that was on Earth.
Which was really disturbing to find out later.
Yeah,
But that's
because
beside the point.
we finished that in, like 20 minutes? 25 minutes?
Yeah. Since we pretty much had it memorized from the beta, it
We
was
did.
effortless.
Yes. We didn't know that was all that there was going to be on Earth at launch, and...
Which was surprising, very surprising at first, because we did extra searching just to make sure, is this it? Is this really it?
Yeah.
Did we completely miss something? Nope.
It was disconcerting to say the least.
But we stayed positive and moved on.
We did. We thought maybe they would have something on other planets. Maybe they invested time in other planets, since, Earth is where we live and all. They had other wonderful places like Mars and Venus and the moon, where the wizards come from. And then the beta came out, and it was exactly the same, only they let you do
With a couple more weapons.
a couple more weapons, and they let you run the first couple missions, well, the first one mission on the moon. And I thought, okay, that's fine, it's a beta, you didn't have to release that much more than what we'd already found. The other one was closed, so giving the general public more of what they didn't have in the past would be just fine. What we didn't know was that that was all there was. And then the game came out in earnest. We were running around on Earth with all the other people that, got on the hype train as soon as humanly possible, like we did. We were avid players. We picked up Dark Child of Light very quickly. We started a clan. It was Durnami. That's where our clan name comes from. We thought of that name specifically for Destiny. That was going to be our thing. Arcadius and I. That was going to be our clan. That was going to be our baby. We were going to do everything with it. We were going to nurture it. There were going to be stringent entrance policies. You had to be intelligent and funny. And all of these things that you looked for in the perfect man was going to be
cooperative gamer.
Yes. And
all of the non-noob, non-a-hole qualities.
Yes.
It's pretty simple.
Yes.
But it's actually very hard to obtain.
Good ideas. Good ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be cohesive and semi-competitive, and we all wanted similar strengths that would play off of each other. And it never formed one because the game was not what we thought it was. And two, those qualities are hard to find.
Very. Especially in a game as piecemeal as Destiny.
It
since
did seem
obviously
very piecemeal.
The party system, you couldn't just get on and decide, I'd like to play a raid today. Let me go find 6 guys that also want to play a raid. No, you aren't going to have any of that. You had to go and manually try to do all these requests to every warm body that walked in front of you.
Yeah, in the beginning, definitely, when there weren't any established major clans or anything like that, it was difficult to drum up people, especially when we had such demanding requirements of raiders to raid with us.
And you needed 6.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually pretty tricky. It
was
wasn't
a
like 3
little
or 4.
difficult.
You needed 6.
Yeah.
Well, I should say 6 to do well.
Yeah, that was our entrance into Destiny. Was your entrance any different, Fast, or is it very close? Tell us about it.
It was actually so my purchase of Destiny came from a aesthetic sense. I used it as an excuse to purchase a PS4. And I got the white one because I wanted the white one, and it was in the Destiny bundle pack. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll play this game.
All right.
And so
priorities.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you got to be stylish and fashionable wherever you go, but including your own room. But so I started playing the game because I invested money into it, and it was different. And for me, the learning curve was actually pretty steep because, again, outside of Halo, and I think I lied to you because I did play Borderlands 2.
Mm-hmm.
Borderlands 2 was my first ever first-person-ish game. So,
what an intro.
I know. And this was much different. So the learning curve was a little bit different. It took me a little bit of time to get good, as it were. Mm-hmm. And I was playing by myself. I was the only person that my friend who had purchased the game also, we were in grad school together, he played it for like 4 hours and said, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this.
Okay.
And I was like, no, play with me. We'll have fun.
Was he
He's
not
like, no.
good or just didn't like it?
He hated it. He really hated the progression system on it.
We'll get into that.
And we'll get into that. But he was like, Bass, I was one of those people who spent like 2 hours in front of a freaking cave, and it shouldn't be that way. He was smart. I should have left then.
Yeah.
I should have left then.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, and why I can never completely talk about Destiny without a couple positives, because the community is fabulous most of the time, just like anything. But the community is fabulous, and I met some really amazing people, including the ones that I'm speaking to now through the game. So for that, it's really cool. It took it took me a while to get there and meet those people, because when we first started, again, there were no real options to find other people to play with. You had to pray that you weren't going to get like someone completely immature or a squeaker or someone who was dumb as hell. I'll say it.
Oh, let us tell you about our first rating experience with Chicken Noodle Snoop.
Oh no.
Chicken Noodle Snoop did not help us in any way, and he was stoned as hell.
So stoned.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Trying to defeat the Vault of Glass with a dude who's stoned out of his mind, and even stops before we get into the boss room to go take another drag before the boss.
Yep. That was our entrance into the rating system, and it was not a particularly good entrance.
So I will say this though. After I beat the game alone,
yeah.
Did you wonder to yourself, is that it?
No, I said to myself, there's no way I should be able to beat this game this quickly with my skill level.
Ding, 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 ding. Unanimous thoughts.
And so I did what I have never done before. I went to the internet, I joined Bungie's forums, and I know, right? And I got on there, I was like, is this real? Like, is this what games are now? And so I'm a day one Destiny person.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of threads on the forums at that point about, well, I can't even remember the dude, because Bungie, quote unquote, redid their forums or restructured their forum platform, and so it removed all of that, all of the initial threads that came out about Destiny. But there are a lot of really good community feedback about, all right, now that we've played it, what can we tell Bungie to help make this game better? And I found a really good thread, and I commented on, and I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But it was just that was my experience. I was like, this is it?
Yeah.
But this is Bungie. Everyone talks about how great Halo games are. If this is indicative of what type of gaming experience people were having with Halo, I didn't really want to be a part of it. On the other hand, I played the hell out of the game because I spent so much money on it, and I met some pretty cool people.
Yeah.
So that was my initial impressions.
I feel like...
Go to the forum and complain.
I feel like I stayed with Destiny so long because I was such a devout Destiny-ite in the beginning.
I'd say hype pusher.
Yeah. And plus, like you said, I spent the money. And I felt like I had to get my money's worth in a game that didn't really have a money's worth to get. And now that we established our beginnings and touched on a few things, what are our actual gripes about this game, rather than just, talking about it offhandedly like it's in the other room. We hate it.
Alright, so if we're gonna pick a topic of gripes, I think the biggest and loudest gripe is a sucky campaign story.
Okay.
I am one for campaigns. I love me a good campaign story. The multiplayer could be meh, but if it's got a great campaign story, I'm all over it. And this thing did not satiate what I was expecting when I got this game. And in fact, just like many people, at the very end of the game, you're left with like, huh? Like, was that it? Did I really just complete it? Like, what about all these plot holes and things that are unexplained? And who is this guy? Or who is this chick? Robo chick. Why is she helping me? What did she do? Why did she teleport just like the Vex do? No answers. None.
None.
And from what I understand, still no answers.
No,
Wow.
actually, not at all.
That is very
No
sad.
attempts.
Bungie. I expected you to do better. I am incredibly disappointed in you.
In all honesty, I'm sure they expected themselves to do better. If we recall, like they lost out on a giant bonus because they didn't receive the rating scores that were projected
Yeah.
or that were
No, and
tied to
there's a
their.
reason they missed out on that, and it's because it sucked.
I don't particularly agree with hinging bonuses on things like game ratings from third-party,
Welcome
participants
to the
or anything like
corporate
that.
entity.
Yeah,
Well, I think
it's not right, but
Well, no.
Well,
you
I
know.
know, but that's another story. But they had to do something for performance, right? And if
You gotta have a
I'm
metric.
thinking
yeah.
they had to have some kind of performance metric, and I'm thinking that at the time, Bungie would have thought that having it tied to critical scores or critic scores would be a safer and more achievable goal than
They
to
probably
have
leveraged it based on how much
pre-orders
hype they had.
or sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because you never know. There could have been a giant tidal wave and like taken down all of the air towers to deliver just crazy stuff like that. But critic scores, people prior to this and maybe even after this have such a high positive association with Bungie and the Bungie brand. So surely they thought, oh, of course we're going to get a 9 out of it. We're going to get 10s across the board
Mm-hmm.
when they first
Slow
started.
as them.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you chime in on this since I will elaborate further after we get some initial thoughts.
Bop, 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 bop. As far as what?
I know you're not too much of a campaign guy. You kind of like the multiplayer stuff a little more.
Me? I really enjoyed Halo and the story that they put out on Halo. I like that style of storytelling, even if it's not.
Okay.
To be perfectly fair, it's not specifically unique, the story that they put out there, but it was fun and it was engaging and it was good to be. It was good to know the story. And from the idea
Or you
of
felt accomplished after knowing the story.
yeah, and from the idea of telling the story through a campaign like they do, along with various other things that Bungie does, they're very good at hiding little nuggets in places for other people to find and stuff like that. But it seems like, as far as the story goes, that is what they solely relied on for this game, instead of a campaign, which, let's be honest, is a vector for a story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It didn't work. And it disappointed me, and it disappointed you too, I'm sure, because
Definitely.
yeah, when you start with Borderlands 2, that's a pretty decent story to
Well, and
use in a
well,
game.
and again, like, well, I guess I didn't say this, but I'm a story gamer. Like, I'm an RPG gamer,
Mm-hmm.
and so to come into and the game, I remember Destiny having an issue about how to define itself.
Yeah.
And so it started out talking about itself as a shared world shooter.
Mm-hmm. They shied
Which is
away from the term MMO. They wanted
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
to.
it was not an MMO.
They wanted to speak very consistently and very precisely that was not what this game was.
Which it kind of felt like an MMO you couldn't level up in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I bring that up because the last game that I had played before I started Destiny was Final Fantasy XIV, and it was an MMO. It was my first MMO.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason why I stopped playing that game wasn't because of story. There's story for days in that game. It's amazing. Every day, well, not every day, but every once in a while I think I need to go back and play that game. But what drove me from that game was controls. There's not a really good feeling of mobility in that game. which is why I really enjoyed playing Destiny. The feel of Destiny was good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, aesthetics were clean.
They did have
lines
a
were
strong
crisp,
sense.
The artwork was done well.
Yeah, they had a strong sense of how your character handled. They were good with controls, and they were good with precision that way. And I think the gameplay was good, but everything else was lacking. So.
But
Yes.
before I forget, we found out eventually though that there was a lot going on behind the scenes about Destiny and its story.
Yes. This gets to my other segment. I definitely needed to touch on.
Well, we can
And
bring
that
that
is
up
the
now.
fact. Yeah, we might as well do it now.
Yeah.
So that brings to rise, well, as Destiny had been out for probably about a year, people have well beaten it. They've discovered the nooks and crannies of cheeses and things to defeat bosses. And you
the
can just hide in this
cheese.
corner. Oh yeah, so much Gouda. And so by this point in time, everyone's, I don't want to say bored with Destiny because they're just kind of waiting because the DLC had yet to come out. So then finally the DLC came out. Oh boy, what's going to come with the DLC? Well, actually, it's the same levels. We just gave you a new mission objective. Oh. Okay. But we did get this one new map. And, we get you a new strike. Ooh, new strike.
One that
And-
takes
okay, so
25 minutes to complete. Woo!
Yeah.
So the thing that upset me the most, and it has set my tone for any game that has come out since with DLC, is how the first one was the Moon one. What was it called again? Crota's End?
No, that was the one that we didn't play.
Are you sure?
Whatever it was. They know.
House of
You know
Wolves
what
was
you
the second
did.
one. Yeah.
It was Crota, right? With the Crota raid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Okay. So there was this character or figure called Rasputin in the game,
Yes.
and it was like this
The
AI,
War
a relic
Mind.
from ages past. The War Mind, that's it. Relic from ages past type deal. And you go to. His location was underneath a section of the map on Earth that you've been to many times before.
All they did was turn the key and unlock the door that allows
So
you to
that's-
go in.
So you go down in there, and I don't know if you recall this, but it gives you coordinate to go someplace else, like the game so often did. But it played this very brief section of images that previewed the Vex
Yes.
before you met the Vex, and it was the same, it was the same thing that you saw a little bit later on in the game, making you realize that this encounter was supposed to happen much earlier in the game,
Yeah.
and they
Yes.
cut it out and put it in
Piecemealed it.
and left it for DLC.
Yeah.
Yes, and this
And
would
they didn't
also go. Oh, keep going.
I was gonna say, and didn't even bother to try and make it cohesive, or remove that image or something. It's
Yeah.
And this is where someone finally leaked it that the original screenwriter to Destiny actually quit when it was found out that they trashed his story basically.
It was in no way a secret when the creative director of Bungie left the game to go work on 343.
It was a big.
It was no secret when they fired Marty O'Donnell abruptly.
And not only that, took away his contract rights to the music he created for the game, which we'll get to later.
A bat just flew out of my hole. Okay.
What?
You have to be playing Minecraft to understand.
Sounds terrible. That is something you never want to hear.
Context.
Yes, context.
It is everything.
So yeah, there were questionable issues going on even before the game came out, and it came out and it was and all that Bungie did was grin at us and say, oh, there's going to be more. And then the DLC came out, and it was more, but it was also the same. And like you said, it felt very much like they chopped it out of the original game just to have DLC for it.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to creating some meaningful pieces of content or a meaningful experience.
Yes.
That are
To
additions
further
to
the
the
game.
main plot instead of the other piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, I think that is a symptom of the modern gaming focus rather than just Bungie. I cannot pin this just on Bungie. It is something that you can see in Call of Duty games. It's something that you can see that happens with both Activision and EA in an attempt to drag more money out of their players. And it's business. I understand. If that's what makes money, you're gonna do it. And either we're going to stop doing that and it's going to die,
Probably not.
or we're going to keep doing it and they're going to keep doing it, and it's just going to stay forever.
Yep,
But that is a
unless-
different soapbox for a different day.
Yes. So pretty much once the game had come to stagnation and both DLCs had come out, we had played the ever-loving crap out of all of them, done all the raids, worked towards most of all the better gear.
Multiple characters.
Yep.
Or
Oh,
you
multiple
have one
characters,
of all
the
the
whole
classes.
nine. I wasn't even gonna do multiple characters, and then here I was, almost level 30 for all my characters.
Vast
So-
was neck deep in the Iron Banner, things like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have Iron Banner stories up the wazoo. But, yeah, I had pieces for just about every character. If someone could say to me, well, how can you rag so much on this game? You had hours in it. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
By the end of it,
And
I
that's
was just...
partly why we can say, well, it was a whole lot of the same. And if I never fight the Archon Priest for another day of my life, I will be okay with that.
Yeah,
And on
I'll
top
be
of
fine with
that,
that.
I was so angry when I had finally gotten Galahorn. I had almost upgraded it to the max and was ready to take it on raids, and then they did the Taken King update, which I did not buy at the time, and it nerfed the best gun in the game along with all my other guns, reset their stats, and I was like, I'm done. If all my work is going to be blown to hell by these game creators, I want nothing more to do with this game.
And let it be
Because all that
clear.
sense of accomplishment, gone. Done.
Let it be clear that the rage was palpable at that point, because he'd been playing with me, Arcadius had been playing with me since day one, and since the first week, I had received both Galahorn and the Cheesebreaker. Those were my first two
Cheesebreaker.
exotics.
Yeah. And those were the last two exotics I obtained in the game. Like, I obtained every other exotic before Skorche did, for the most part, and the very last two were those.
Yep. Which brings me to the idea of randomly generated rewards as a result of completing a strike or playing multiplayer. I don't like that. I feel like
It does
they
kind of make you wonder what you're supposed to do with your time, right? You
Yeah.
do certain missions to usually obtain certain things, but if it's just a ginormous lottery pool, you don't really know what to expect.
Yeah. I feel like that was an attempt on Bungie's part to lengthen the time that players played their game, because they didn't have anything else. So they relied
Exactly,
on
I
RNG.
completely agree with that. Because what else would you play it for?
Yeah.
If you were going to play levels in which you could obtain the best guns, and there was only a handful of levels where you did that, people would grind those levels, get the best guns, and then they'd be done.
Yeah.
Because there'd be no point in playing any of the other campaign, or I can't even call them campaign, the little side mission things that they had available to play. that you beat the first 2 hours you owned of the game.
Yeah.
They didn't even rehash the voices or change the battle scenarios. It was rinse, repeat.
They did change Peter Dinklage with Nolan North after we ended playing. However, I didn't have a big problem with Peter Dinklage being the voice of that stupid robot thing that I didn't really like to begin with. Because I liked Peter Dinklage's voice. It's pretty good. And I've heard enough of Nolan North's. Boop, boop, boop. So what shall we continue on from here? Do we
I would just like to mention the fact that Bungie tried to vehemently and knowingly screw over Martin O'Donnell, but he got justice in the end, so I'm glad.
Yep. In a very...
That just has to be said.
Rarely...
They tried purposefully, as a company, to F that man over and all of his work, and strip all of it out and make all the money off of it, leaving him with squat diddly, and he got what he deserved. And Martin O'Donnell finally got his payout for all the work that he put into it, and Bungie's left there going, and they couldn't come up with anything.
I believe that lawsuit was over, and it was justified, that lawsuit, by the way, was that they did not pay him for time accrued for vacation. And
really?
They ended...
In addition to the rights,
Really?
There was another. Yes, there was another aspect where they were trying to strip out the what's the term? You get royalties. They tried to strip him out of the royalty rights as well via his contract, which already stated that. And then they tried. I'm trying to. It's been so long since I read that report that they tried to claim he reneged something in his contract, and that gave them justification to break it off and fire him. But there was another line in that contract, because they must not have read it all the way, that said, no, he gets this regardless. And they tried to fight that off, and they couldn't because it was right there in his contract that he was supposed to receive due royalties and monetary compensations for his work.
Oh, man.
I don't even remember the payout at the end. It was so many millions of dollars. It was not even funny.
I imagine he was getting frustrated anyway because it was such a tight-lipped affair. They wouldn't tell him anything about the game, and so he couldn't create music because there was no game to base it off of. Now, what is there is good, but it's not as good as, say, the Halo 2 soundtrack, which is incredible, and the Halo 3 soundtrack, which is incredible.
And if I recall correctly, because I also read up on this ages ago when all of it was going down, they talked about, maybe not necessarily with Marty specific, or maybe in relation to Marty when the head writer/creative director left, that there had been a lot of changes that were implemented to the game that came down from Activision specifically. When there was playtesting that happened, and apparently people got really depressed after playing the game. They thought it was too heavy or too real. You don't recall? You don't remember?
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
I don't know about that because I think that's just the opinions of a couple people that were given first looks, and even then, it wasn't the entire game. And that's probably why they had that depressed feeling, is that they were wanting something more out of it, but it wasn't done yet. And
well, I don't
think
that's it, per se.
No, that there was...
Please explain fast. I would love to hear this.
No, like I'm about to go online and see if I can find the original article, because I'm pretty sure I read it on one of the reputable gaming sources like Polygon or something like that. When everything fell out. Well, when everything fell. But it was something along the lines of, and Activision wanted a different ending. The ending that wasn't what was the giant ball called again?
The
ball?
The giant
ball. That hung over.
No,
that hung over the city.
The Guardian?
No, it's not the Guardian.
We're the Guardians.
Oh yeah, sorry, wrong one.
They called it.
The speaker. There's a speaker, and he was speaking for. Yes, whatever that something was turned out to be the evil big bad. Remember? and the inside of and the last battle you fight is actually was actually supposed to be inside of it, in the Black Garden.
The Black
Yeah.
Garden was supposed to be inside the big old sphere?
Inside the big old sphere. And if you recall, there's like some artwork. Anyway, like I said, this is a long time since I've read this. It's
it
been
has been a
years.
while.
But that last battle in the Black Garden was actually conceptualized as you fighting inside of the big thing that protected us, and it was actually evil, and it was actually it was kind of like a play on childhood's end. Whoever wrote that, was that Brad? No, Brad Bear didn't write Childhood.
It doesn't seem to make sense based on what some of the feedback from the original screenwriter was when he was writing the story.
And what was that feedback, Arcadius? Let's make sure and be clear about all this.
The shoot, man, I'm gonna try to remember now. I'd have to go back and look at that article as well. Since I did not do my homework right before this, so I'm going off of pure memory on this.
The podcast came
Same,
up.
and anyone who's listening, I
It
apologize.
tied into the fact that the darkness, it was not in that hanging sphere, because there was actually more story as to how that arrived over Earth. And if you remember from the House of Wolves DLC, when you're able to go on those missions and get the what was it? That gear from that vendor called Osiris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Trials
yeah.
of Osiris.
And he was supposed to have a very integral and prominent part to the main storyline, but after the rehashing, they turned him literally into an armor vendor, and he had no story plot whatsoever. And it had to do with the fact that he was going to be intertwined with that robot chick that shows up out of nowhere, and it was going to tie the story into why she's helping you, and that Osiris was also going to start helping you and explain his origins as to why he was even there in the first place to help you. Because he had more expansive knowledge than you had of the olden times and some other stuff like that.
Yes.
But instead he
heard,
became an armor vendor.
What I heard from various sources was that the original story had you chasing the Hive across the galaxy to try and recover the Warmind Rasputin so that they couldn't use that to evil ends against Earth. And
Yes, that was also part of it.
It was like the last ditch, last hope effort thing that the writers had created, which was gutted and piecemealed back together in a very poor Frankensteinian way.
Which
I'm
explains those after images that that Vast explained earlier.
Yeah.
I will pull up this. I'm looking up the polygon.
Okay. After this podcast ends, I'll be sure and put all the links in the description from all of the various things that we're talking about, just so we can have a cohesive story behind us.
Yes.
Yep.
Because I know that it doesn't. Oh, sound. All right, here we go. I gotta get up and do this right now.
Oh, do some quotes.
Quotes.
Oh man, that game, I spent a lot of time in that game for something so shallow.
I think we kept playing it under the guise that this could get better. This might not be
Yeah.
it. So let's go ahead and get our weapons ready, get beefed up, because when the next thing comes out to hit, we are going to be ready. We are going to wreck it. And what
Yeah.
happened? That's about what happened. It's
Or
like,
was
well,
it more of a silent fart?
I was thinking of a balloon letting air
Went
but
out
yeah,
with a
it's-
complete squeak. Yeah. I have to admit that I felt I felt betrayed almost from the first week after we'd completed everything. But
you didn't want to convince yourself yet.
Yeah,
You're like, no.
exactly.
You're sitting there telling yourself,
exactly.
this can't be it. I know this has to be better. I know what Bungie's done before. This has to be better.
Yeah, and
It'll get better.
even early on when I started up my YouTube channel, it was going to be Destiny themed. I was going to add a whole bunch of Destiny content. And one of the reasons why it was so sparse and so inactive was because the game itself was not cohesive and conducive to long-form entertainment like I wanted.
There wasn't anything new to tell.
No.
Everyone already told it within the first week.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I did not want to try and convince myself that was all there was. And in the beginning, I vouched, just like Deej, the community manager, vouched, that this is a living game that will change throughout its lifespan and things like that.
AKA additions of good content. Expandable content. Not,
I believe them.
Oh, you can go to this door inside the moon.
This door that has one room behind it, and then the mission ends. But wait, there's a DLC that adds a hallway at the end of that door.
That'll be $40.
Yeah, their whole pricing venture after the Taken King came out that got so wonky completely lost me on why I wanted to continue.
Yeah, because wasn't the game $90 when we first got it?
The collector's edition that we got, the
DLCs?
digital collector's edition was $90 that I bought willingly and happily because I thought it was going to be a good investment. Wrong! And then they decided to make the Taken King, I believe,
$40.
$40 or $60.
Just DLC for players that had already played this game and were avid veterans of it, and pretty much the community that was still playing it at the time, they were going to charge us $40 when the previous one, with both DLCs, would have been $30.
Yeah, and just a reminder, I people who are like, come and purchase this and we'll play together. I was like, I can't do it. But the very last time I played Destiny was when the Taken King first came out, and some my friends had it, and I just palled around with them on Earth, where they had to go to do something. I don't even recall, and it was the same map that I had played on for over a year at that point.
Yeah, it was probably over a year.
And doing the same thing, fighting the same enemies, and I was just like, no, I can't do this, and I never played the game again.
Yep.
My last straw on the camel's back was when I went to my inventory and saw that the number on my Gallarhorn went from a 315 to a 198. I was like, nope, I'm done.
Well, they
ain't taking this from me.
They restructured the way damage worked, and even though they did nerf Gallarhorn, and that is a legitimate gripe for you, the way that they worked the ratios was different.
Yeah, they changed all kinds of damage scales and weird stuff like that. But at that point, they had already just wrecked all my progress at that point. And then the new guns they were introducing were better than the previous exotics, which doesn't make sense because they're exotics. They're all supposed to rock.
Well, they wanted to push their DLC.
Exactly.
Which is why they did it.
By doing that, they pretty much said, well, your progress doesn't mean anything to us, so we're just going to take that away.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much why I put it down, hands down, and have never touched it. Don't plan on touching it, even if a second one comes out. I don't think I'm going to touch it. I'm just going to go to YouTube, watch the guy who puts up a video of all the campaign missions back to back. It'll probably be 20 minutes, and I'll have my fill.
Oh, that sounds a little salty.
Yeah, it is a little bit salty, but it's the truth.
Yeah, it's justified salt. Kosher table salt.
Yeah, we're not in the Dead Sea Salt level here.
Ooh, that's dense.
Yeah, that's real dense.
All right, Vass, did you find anything? Would you like
I
to
found
add
something.
anything?
It's not what I was looking for, but I'm still deep diving because, like I said, it's been a while since I've read this over. It's probably been close to a year or maybe more. But looking at a Polygon article, the intro sentence: a month before Bungie planned to release Destiny, and just before its head writer quit, the developer substantially revised the game's story according to a recently filed court document that provides insight into the game's development. Although Destiny was planned for release in September 2013, the story was substantially revised beginning August 2013, requiring a new release date of March 2014, and added to much of the work previously completed, the document reads. And as we know, that Destiny eventually was released in September of 2014.
Yes.
But there's more, because I know that I read this. I just got to find it. So Please continue.
And remember, all of these links are going to be in the description if you'd like to read them yourself. It's all going to be there.
That's the internet for you.
Yep.
It never forgives and it never forgets.
I'll try to
Just
remember
like me.
another YouTuber that did an entire review purely on the Martin O'Donnell legal case. He actually quotes several legal terms.
Yes,
and
that's true.
Makes that plain as day, and he does a very good job of explaining it, so I'll try to
Yes.
make sure to get that in there as well.
If you can find that YouTube link and send it to me, I'll put that in the description as well.
It's actually in my favorites. I'll just have to dig it up later.
Okay, cool.
It was so well done. I was like, man, I want to hold on to this. So I can be like, yeah, look at how bad they tried to screw over Marty here. Oh, he got his. He got his. He got his.
Luckily. And
Yes.
just to be clear, I would never wish ill of anyone in that industry. It's volatile as it is. And
Every industry.
yeah, I am not going to advocate or push for any kind of violence toward this developer. I
that's stupid.
enjoyed their previous work. I hope to, and this is optimistic at best, I hope to enjoy their content in the future, but that will take significant review and a very lengthy probationary period.
Yeah, the honeymoon syndrome will wear off pretty rapidly.
Yeah. After reading many, many reviews and seeing if their work has changed for the better at all. If it continues to be... If Destiny 2 is a reskin of Destiny 1, I'm going to drop Bungie entirely. Most likely.
Well, we started this talking about how early into the Destiny cycle we started, you guys as being alpha players, and me being a day one Destiny player, and ending our Destiny relationship, because it was, at that point, it was a really bad relationship that you just couldn't help but want to get out of.
Yes. It was abusive and thankless.
Yes, prior to the Taken King, but I have had people say that post Taken King Destiny is everything that Destiny should have been. Do you think that, given the time and maybe additional resources, or if not resources, then the ability to react to feedback, not just to player feedback, but to also whatever internal structuring that they had or issues that they were having in the company, do you think that Bungie has actually pushed forward and are starting to know what the genre is, they know what they want to accomplish, and they have the means to do it now, that they have laid a blueprint of failure in front of them they can work from? You know what I mean?
Well,
I would think you could learn from your mistakes in any context.
yeah.
And obviously make something better in any context,
That's
given enough time.
That's always a good policy, to learn from your mistakes.
But whether or not corporate culture to make money allows you to do that is another problem.
Yeah. To bring up what you said, that the most recent batch of DLC ended up making Destiny what it should have been means that that was the way it was supposed to be from the beginning. And
Day one.
I'm going to pull out the way many of my middle school teachers used to do test corrections. You'll be able to get half your points back on your exam, which means you're sitting at a 50. So,
Guys.
no, I don't think that that will change my opinion at all as far as this game.
I have to agree. If you're not going to release the entirety of the game that you've hyped from the get-go and instead let it be claimed or wrapped up into DLC because that's the way somebody wanted it, then that has very wrong signals being sent that there are multiple agendas running around and you have no idea which one is vying for the win.
That's very true. I think that we can't blame all of the hype specifically on Bungie. They were a good company and they created good content before, and there's reason to be hype, and they're always very good at leading you on. But the way the community took up and handled the game with such fervor is also why the hype was so great. And it's a fault of our own to buy into the hype as strongly as we did. I was drinking the Kool-Aid before there was Kool-Aid. I made the Kool-Aid. You know?
Yeah, you helped stir it.
I did. And I can't completely blame Bungie on that one. I can blame them on a poor game, though.
I would say that the game itself wasn't bad. It was just poorly executed and provided for.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Destiny at skin value, mechanics, aesthetics, operation, it was good.
Yeah.
But everything else around it that was supposed to hold it together, it wasn't there. It didn't exist.
Yeah. It was a pretty game. It handled very precisely. Yeah. It was the, very well-scripted Miss Universe contestant. But there wasn't a story behind it. And I think that is what did it for
There
me.
was a story, but you're only seeing a 16th of what it probably was, and it's in no way explained.
Can I jump back in when we talk about the story for 1 second, because I found
Go for it. It's all you.
Two things. I was confusing two of the issues that came through. It wasn't Activision who asked for a rewrite. Activision replaced the composer's music for I guess maybe the E3 trailer or something like that. So that's where I was confusing those issues from. But here's the article. It's actually Kotaku, not Polygon, and we will upload this so you guys can read it if you want. If you want to read the dark history behind Destiny, but I'll just read a very short passage. Years ago, something went wrong. Destiny's writing team, led by the well-respected Bungie veteran Joe Staten, had been working on the game for several years. They put together what they called the Supercut, a 2-hour video comprising the game's cinematics and major story beats. In July, they showed it to the studio's leadership. That's when things went off the rails, according to 6 people who worked at Destiny. Senior staff at Bungie were unhappy with how the Supercut had turned out. They decided it was too campy and linear, sources say, and they quickly decided to scrap Staten's version of the story and start from scratch.
Oof.
Yeah. And that was like...
this article... just to finish, this article does go into some of the story beats that you were talking about Osiris being a major character in the game, and also the character who was before the Queen's brother. It kind of details some of the original things.
The Crow, I believe his name was, or something like that. What he was referred to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And who the heck the Awoken were?
They explained that. I actually know what the Awoken were.
Yeah, but was it explained through those little, what do you call them, those in-game cards or whatever that you unlocked via the Bungie app?
I don't remember where I learned it. In a
Because
way,
they had a lot of random Destiny trivia information in those things. that was
Okay,
not
the
explained in the game.
entirety of the Bungie Destiny story was locked in finding those cards. The entire
Yeah.
backstory, the entire lore, all of it was stuck in those little things that are supplementary to the game. And you can do that. You just need a good story in the game that you're pitching, you know?
Or to let people know, hey, by the way, the rest of our story is packed in these little cards. You should go read them.
Yeah, but the big thing, and this is, oh my God, this is taking me back. I can feel my blood pressure rising. But the thing about the cards was they weren't even integrated in the game. If you wanted to find out about lore, you actually had to leave the game. Just
True.
conceptually, that's stupid. Like, why would you want someone to leave your game that you actually want them to invest time and space in and learn about and share with, have them leave that space to go somewhere else to find information? Like,
Yeah.
it's just wrong. That's just bad. That's bad design.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
I agree.
I will agree with you in this
Oh,
as well.
I can I can hear the anger just welling up within me. This is what Destiny
Hey.
did to me.
You can keep railing. I mean, this is an open platform.
It's the
I could
rail
even
channel.
break out some Emperor Palpatine for you if you wanted.
Well, then I will. So we're talking about things that got to us with Destiny that we
Yes.
kind of disliked. Okay, so the sameness. I hear that they have started to alleviate this a little bit more. You have, armor that lights up. You kind of look like you're from Tron now or something. I don't know. But when you first started playing that game, everyone looked the same.
Yeah.
There was only
Different colors.
just different
Oh,
colors,
you have a
different
purple
shaders.
one? I got a blue one.
You try getting those shaders. I still remember the story of someone who was like level insane, like I don't know, 126 in Dead Orbit, and he still didn't get the blacksmith. Like
Ooh,
trying to get
man.
those freaking shaders just to look different. There was a sameness there.
Yeah.
And there was, and even though it was a shared world shooter and not exactly an MMO, they kind of set you up in such a way where oh my God, this tagline kind of really pissed me off over time, but like you create the story, like your adventures and your experiences are the stories that you share.
Mm-hmm.
But if the story that you're sharing is, well, I hid underneath this bench and shot at and took pot shots at the Archon priest,
the Archon priest like he deserves.
and then everyone but me got a Galahorn. What kind of story was that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's
was-
my story, by the way.
Yeah.
Everyone but me got the good stuff.
Oh, but that sameness was really, when you first played, to me, my experience was there was nothing in the game that said that anything that you did as a player mattered. There wasn't a story that you were progressing that mattered. There were no decisions that you made, even down to which gun that you chose that mattered, because the way that the gun was set up, the game was set up, and when you got into higher difficulties, you could only use certain things to get past it.
Yeah.
Like, if it was a nightmare and everyone had void shields, well, you know what? Of course you're going to use the truth. Because if you get, you needed to get those shields down. If it was, of course you're going to go in as your wizard with
Your
the sun
warlock?
flare, your warlock, thank you, I
Yeah.
couldn't remember, and your hunter with the
Phoenix
golden
perk.
gun. Because
Yeah.
you need to get those shields down, and you were going to use this weapon, and if you had it in everything, you're just going to use the Galahorn because it's the only way you can burn enemies down in a way that you weren't going to be sitting there 6 hours shooting
Yep.
at something. Nothing you did in the game mattered, and I don't see how that could change with the way that they developed the initial game. I could be wrong. Someone please tell me if I'm wrong.
That's
pretty
just-
much.
But are there
gripe.
decisions that you're making that matter in that game?
Yeah. That's a very justified gripe.
But that could almost be lumped in with the fact that there was no meat once you got into it.
Yeah.
Like, what else were you supposed to do?
Mm-mm.
let's do a strike this time. Let's do a different strike. Oh, no, it's the Archon Priest again. Oh, let's back out and try again. Oh, no, it's the Archon Priest again. Okay,
They
fine, we'll beat the
know.
Archon Priest. Now we'll do a different one. Oh, no, it's the Archon Priest again.
Or what about that one raid, the mind, the Vex mind, where it's just one of the maps backwards?
Yeah. Well, they did that in the first Halo to great success, and I think they were trying to play on their strengths that way. But it
But
didn't
you have
work.
to have, story.
It didn't work.
and-
After you know
But-
every single layout of every single map back to front, because that's the only thing to explore. God damn it!
Let the rage flow through you. And so now I know that if I go and play Destiny, no matter what, have they added a new planet? I think they've added Saturn, but is it actually Saturn, or is it just a ship you're on? I don't even know at this point. But I know that if I go ahead and pick up the Taken King, which, by the way, you can purchase now for $24.95.
Oh, what a frickin'. Oh, my.
For $24.95, I guess the lesson really is don't be an early adopter.
Yeah.
Bandwagoners. They were wanting to get the bandwagoners.
Oh,
But
what's
I
this
know that
they?
if I purchase that,
Yeah, it was we. There is no they in the bandwagoners. It was absolutely a we.
we were on the wagon,
Oh yeah.
proud to have fallen off the wagon.
I considered myself having fallen off right before when the Taken King came out, and then
Yeah.
it's like, I'm done. After I saw what they did, I was like, nope, I'm done. Hung my Destiny hat and was like, you guys have fun.
Your Destiny hat that somehow took you a very long time to find, yet everyone else had one that was exactly the same color.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh boy, my hat. It's not that cool anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. It seemed like it had so much potential, and
did.
even
It kinda hosed it up
now, like story-wise, has there even been a graphic novel?
For
Has there been any type
Destiny?
of novel? Yeah, for Destiny, has there been a novel that's been released? Because I know that Halo had enjoyed a lot of Halo, not a lot of Halos, but Halo had success on many different levels, including like a book
They had
series.
many novels actually.
Yeah.
A very
And
They
good
had
book
quite a
series.
few. They were third-party syndicated, though, I believe. It didn't come out of the Bungie Skunkworks. However,
It did not, but it still adapted very well to the
Yeah.
main lore that Bungie created. For
it
Halo.
played to the
And
idea
free
that
for free
Halo.
continues nowadays.
It played to the idea that Halo was successful enough to make people read about it.
Mhm.
You know, and when you have all
And
of
it
the
was.
story locked in those little cards, and you don't have enough meat to make people go and read about it, it doesn't work. Even in little short 2-sentence snippets.
It's
Which
just
are
a
only
shame.
obtained when you get ridiculous guns that are randomly dropped.
Yep.
Ugh. As a writer, I feel for the other writers.
Yeah, I'm sure it hurts.
Yeah. When you stand in front at the very end and be like, all right, guys, we're done. I don't like it. Throw it all away.
Standing there in that wasteland like that 70s commercial of the Native American crying at all the trash on the ground. It's you with all like a sea of burning Destiny scripts with a single tear rolling down your cheek.
What was that one line?
Insert flashbacks of long nights and hard work.
That one line. That wizard
I
came
don't
from the
have
moon.
time. No. I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain, or something like
Yep,
that.
that was it.
Yes. Yes.
When really, you had a whole bunch of time. You just elected not
She
to
had
tell
enough
us
time
anything.
to tell you that.
Yeah? So, are we rolling down? We've been going for a while. Seems
Pretty
like we're
much
just
grabbed
ranting
all
about
I
it now.
cared
Is
to
there
grab.
any more structure?
I got nothing to add.
Okay.
Well,
Fast.
well, hold on. I think I'll end this with a question because we kind of talked about, um, you know, things that we really didn't enjoy, and what would Bungie have to do to get you to back for Destiny 2?
Oh man.
You said if it's a reskin, you wouldn't come back, but what would they have to
Definitely would
do?
not.
Just 2 things, or 3 things. 3 things that Destiny would have to do to get you back for Destiny 2.
I would have to. First of all, there would have to be a story. Absolutely. I'm not searching
An
through the
in-depth
little
story.
bits. Yeah.
Not a Cracker Jack box story.
It's going to take a lot of positive reviews, and it's going to take very classic Bungie Halo style storytelling. And I know they're good at that. I know that their writing team is good. They've done it 4.5 games. And even before that, when they had games like Oni, before Halo even came out, they had good writing. So, it's going to have good writing. It's going to have really good reviews. It's going to have to be playable, and it's gonna have to be a game again rather than a point and click simulator,
Mm.
And it cannot in any way involve the Archon Priest.
He's gonna make a return, you know it.
I'll quit.
Arcadius,
I'll drop the game right there. Like, no.
I'm turning that question over to you, Arcadius. What 3 things does Destiny or Bungie have to do to get you back for Destiny 2? They don't have us now. They lost us a long time ago.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
What do they have now? What do they have to do?
What carrot on a stick would need to be dangled in front of you?
Dangle, dangle.
Quite frankly, they would have to do a lot of campaign work for me. And I'm not talking about let me do 3 different campaign missions on the same campaign level. I mean 3 lots of very different, story-driven, with cinematic dialogue and explanation in between, deep conversations, objectives that will obtain more deep conversations, and, kind of summarizing into a wholesome campaign that fulfills unknown questions, creates questions, fulfills those questions that you got during gameplay, and wraps it up in a bow at the end.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Madam Empires? What would it take for you to come back?
Well, I'm like you guys. I said that I was story-driven player, so I would need a really strong narrative. Like, if they think that it's good, then they need to have someone who's a real writer come back through and just read it again and say, okay, this is the level of epicness that we need, and that. But beyond that, I would really want some of what I was talking about before, where choices matter. Like, you're actually making some kind of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I would want them to bring back the feel of the game, like because again, the controls were wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I actually could kill someone in a PvP match and make a difference. And let me tell you, it took me a long time to get there, but I got there, and it was fun. So I did enjoy that. But I also want better level design. I'm not a game designer, and so I am not speaking in, someone will be like, but this level design is excellent. But I want, and maybe just from the industry in general, but I want to see more done with, like, dimension and verticality in spaces. Like, one of the big things in Destiny, like with your warlocks and your hunters, is that you could go vertical, but they did nothing with that. Nothing really. And so I was in the forums once begging for like a PvP map on, you remember on Earth in the Cosmodrome, those giant like rockets or landing pads or launch pads that were still there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like something like that. Just make use of the space that they have and create some more dynamic encounters in that respect. I would really enjoy that.
More interactive world rather
Yeah.
than
More
a
interactive
photo
world.
that you walk through.
A photo that you... Okay, so... I think they did a very good job with creating levels. It just wasn't expansive enough in that regard. What you walk on is very beautiful, but it is 1 square foot in an entire freaking Mona Lisa of a skybox that you can't ever explore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like I still remember people pointing out like there's this one trailer or a discussion where a bunch of developers like all this back here is on Earth Cosmodrome before you enter the Cosmodrome, and there's all these cars and everything like that. See that space over there? One day you'll be able to go there. And 20 years later, you'll never be able to go there.
Yeah. Alright, so final verdict on the game. Would you like to end with a total score? How would you rate your Destiny experience?
It started at I'm gonna say it started as a 7, and then by the time I was done, fell to about a 5 or maybe a 4. A 4 might be stretching it because that's got a lot of hate behind it. So I'd say maybe comfortably I'd be okay with letting it stay at a 5.
Okay. Madam Empires?
Well, I think there's so much more that I could say about this story, or about this game. But I think initially, I was at like a 7. Maybe even a 6, because I really felt like, outside of its technical parts, it was just a really mediocre game.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and say 6, and now, like, it's at a 2. And that 2 is because of the community.
Oh, that burns.
Man.
And I want all my stuff back. And no, you can't visit the children. And everything. I am divorcing myself from this game.
Ooh,
You
man.
don't get any visitation rights.
No visitation.
I'm assuming you've deleted it from your PlayStation then.
Oh yeah, ages ago.
Yeah.
And it felt so good. It felt so good. You know, like that first bite of something that's delicious and tasty, like your first bite, your first sip of ice cold Coke on a really hot day, or water after you go running, or the first time you ever ate a slice of pizza. That's what it tasted like.
Yeah, yeah.
Refreshing.
Justice.
Good barbecue on a hot day in Lockhart, Texas. Oh, yeah.
After you tubed the river.
After tubing the river. So
Bliss.
as far as my score goes, I have to say that I was such a believer, a mindless
Your score would have to start pretty
drone.
high just based on the bandwagoning.
Yeah,
Like,
I was a mindless drone in the beginning, so I'd have to give it like an 8.5 or a 9. And it stayed that way for a while because I didn't even want to approach the subject of me convincing myself that it was not a good game. I wanted it to be a good game so bad.
lie user.
Yeah, but gosh, towards the end of it, when I realized that this was all it's going to be, and it's never going to be anything greater than that, I would have to end it with about a 3.
That seems about right.
It was rough, and it hurt, and I'm not going to let them hurt me again, because I'm a strong, independent woman.
I feel like we should be playing some like Beyonce or Whitney Houston or something right now.
Okay, well, anything else before we end?
No, I actually, this was really cathartic. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It was very fun.
Oh.
Now that we've gotten that all out and cleaned the air.
Yep. And it will be on the internet forever, our opinion. Anything?
Oh no, I just killed myself.
Anything from you, Arcadius? Any final thing you want to add?
Yeah, other than if they somehow believe that they can roll out a Destiny 2 successfully, I will take it with bags of salt before even approaching that story.
Gotcha.
I'm hopeful that they might be able to learn from this, but you never know.
Yeah.
So I'm of the opinion of, well, we'll just wait and see.
Okay. And as for me, Bungie, I know your community is expansive. I know your tentacles go everywhere. So if you find this, I know you can do better. And I'm incredibly disappointed in you. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. And I absolutely know that this was not your best work. And
Not even close.
And I am sorry. And I hope that you can do better in the future. But that ends our podcast. This has been episode 2 of the Triumvirate Podcast. We cover Destiny and all of our opinions regarding its downfall in our eyes. I hope you enjoyed it. If you think that we can do better, if you have any suggestions for what we should cover in the future, if you have any comments, if you have anything to say at all, if you want to subscribe and become one of our subscribers that will listen to us drone on forever and ever, you're free to do so. But in the meantime, I will bid you adieu from the Triumvirate.
Adieu.
Adieu.